What's up, guys? I'm here today going to talk about Cal Newport's Digital Minimalism. That book is about having a better relationship with social media and technology in general. So, as you all know, companies like Facebook, Instagram, they all get money for your attention, basically. And the more time you spend using these devices, the more profit they make. So they've constructed this environment in order to make it as irresistible as possible. And this brings us several problems. In that we don't want to spend time on these services. We don't want to spend too much time. So the average Facebook usage per day is 50 minutes, 50. That doesn't actually. I thought it might be higher, but the average smartphone use is around 3 hours, and that's amongst people who use time tracking software. Like there's one, I think it's called Moment, and they publish the statistics. The average was about 3 hours, with substantial variation. So there's definitely people using it far more. And, the people who would use time tracking devices would be more conscientious about their own use. So there's probably people out there at the far end who are using it quite a lot. And if you go into a public place, you do see people on their phones very often. I've avoided this for a while because I did have a flip phone from, I think it was late 2016 or early 2017 to mid 2018 when I dropped it on a hike and it was irretrievably lost. It fell between these rocks, and I had no idea where it was. And after that, I took an old smartphone that my parents had sitting around, and this thing had its own problems. It was very unreliable. It could only sustain battery for about 3 hours. The battery would fluctuate wildly. Like, it would be at 80%, and then I would look at it 10 minutes later, and it would be around 15%. So it did crazy stuff like that, and I just recently replaced it with a modern phone. It was very cheap, but I'm blown away by the features stuff. Anyways, this kept me from, basically, these external factors kept me from spending too much time on these devices. But now that I do have a better phone, I was considering getting a flip phone, but I do wish to make videos and such, and this camera is great for that. So yes, I have to go into it with more intentionality, because the field is open for me to spend potentially hours a day doing like low value interactions on Facebook, or like just consuming content. So there's been some research about the negative effects of social media. One of the things Cal Newport mentions is that in the very short term, it tends to give people, well, a sense of happiness and connection, but um, in the long term, it does lead to negative effects on one's psychology. Particular somebody, an argument that always comes up is that you're comparing each other people's highlight reel to your own behind the scenes, and so it can lead to feelings of inadequacy and being behind in life. Everybody's on their own. Everyone's on their own path. So, yeah, you should compare yourself to who you were yesterday instead of where other people are, even though that's easier said than done. And yes, the big thing is that these low-value social interactions, like Cal Newport in particular uses the example of clicking like on a friend's post. And he actually has a chapter that's explicitly called Don't Click Like, because what it does is it gives you the idea that you're connecting with this person in some way, but it's, for the case of like, it's literally like one bit of information. It's a yes-no thing. And, well, talking to people, our bandwidth is just so far greater than that. Moving up from something like that would be something like typing a comment or sending a thoughtful message. And then up from there would be talking on the phone. And up from there would be meeting in person, which is about the best you can get. Until there's some sort of weird helmet mind interface, but that might be going too far. Yes. So yeah, there's these constant string of distractions, which makes us feel as if we're connecting with people, but we really aren't. And it would be better to use that time to instead cultivate more meaningful, deeper connections. Schopenhauer has the analogy of the diamond when he talks about focus. Basically, a big diamond, like the Koh-i-Noor, that's worth so much more than even an equivalent weight of diamonds. But all the constituent diamonds are tiny. And if you took this even further, it would be worth more than if you were to grind these diamonds up and you had this diamond dust. That's essentially what it is. There's value to being this whole thing, like the large diamond. And yes, we want to, I guess, increase the granularity of our own social interactions. So it's the grain size, basically, because that's where connection happens. And yes, that's talking in terms of connection. And in terms of time, these devices, they seem to intrude on what leisure time we do have. If we don't plan it out deliberately, we can easily spend hours just vegging out, just consuming content. And yeah, the best way is to avoid that is to basically have projects. Even better would be to schedule time. But yes, having a project which you can go into And there's the example of books, like tiny books, which are the size of a smartphone and are meant to look like a smartphone, that you can carry around in your pocket. And basically, instead of just idly checking your phone when you're in some interregnum, you read a book instead, or read a bit of a book. And I do like the word interregnum because, in particular, it's something I want to avoid. In particular, is seeing life as a series of interregnum. Um, Basically, life as interregnum until, I don't know, some magical moment happens. If you spend your life that way, you waste most of it just waiting for something to happen. Whereas, if you spend it, well, here and now, then you're integrated with all of life. And if you, even if you, it's basically, you want to avoid having conditionality on your happiness. Because if your happiness is, say, an if-then statement, if I get this relationship, then I'll be happy. If I make a certain amount of money, then I'll be happy. Well, then you're not happy until that if-then statement is satisfied. Or you don't allow yourself to be happy until that. Hey. And, well, if that's the case, you can just be happy now, and say you actually satisfy this if-then statement, then you're constantly worried about losing the thing, and you can't even enjoy it when it comes. So anyways, that's a bit of an aside. So prescriptions for what you would call digital minimalism is basically a 30-day detox of all non-essential social media. So if you use I don't know, if you use Facebook for business or stuff, you can still continue to do that. But non-essential. It's, should be explanatory. But, and beyond that, you start to reincorporate things into your daily practice. And maybe you become complacent and you have to do it again. But practices like this are good for that. It's like, I think Marie Kondo has the advice that if you move, leave things in boxes. And if you don't end up taking things out of boxes for a period of a few months, then you don't use it, and you might as well just get rid of it. And Cal Newport recommends a similar thing with social media. Other practices after you've completed that is just to spend time away from your phone, and definitely to take social media apps off your phone. You can still access them through a browser. It's just slightly more inconvenient, and it makes it so it's something that you don't slide into in these short periods of leisure time. waiting for a bus or something like that. I'd be wrong to call it leisure time. But anyways, yeah. Don't die by 1,000 cuts this way. And I hope you have a great day. Peace.